Good morning, everyone. I would like to begin with a story of a mother who was coming to church Sunday morning and gave her daughter a quarter to be offered for the poor at Mass. Mass begins, and during offertory, the ushers come around with a basket collecting the gifts. When they get to this family in the pews, the little girl refuses to give up the quarter. And the mother nudges her, saying, "Honey, give up the quarter, it is for the poor." And she refuses. At the end of the Mass, she runs down the aisle to the back of church where the pastor is standing and goes to him and says, "Father, this is for you. My mom says you are the poorest preacher she has ever heard." Well, there are days I think I qualify for a quarter because after speaking to grade school children in Topeka, Kansas, for like 30 minutes of question and answer, at the end of the exercise, one little boy raised his hand and asked me, "Father, do you speak English?" And I said, "I thought I did." Well, I have been requested to speak slowly and to keep this short, 5 minutes. As Father Nego said, I'm Father Simon Peter from the Diocese of Kiyinda Mityana in Uganda. As he said, yes, I partly went to school in Mandaline Seminary in Chicago. I have been ordained 24 years and I live and work in Uganda. I come here today in thanksgiving to Archbishop Paul and to Father Nego for granting us this opportunity to share with you the challenges we have in evangelizing in our diocese. And those of you who remember Sister Marian, I am one of Sister Marian's boys. Our diocese in Mityana is a large country diocese which covers a geographical area of 12,000 square kilometers, and the population of the entire region is around 2.5 million people. And of these, 47% is Catholic. Our people we work with are subsistence farmers who grow what to eat and sell the surplus. Currently, the diocese is divided into 32 parishes. Now, each of these 32 parishes is further subdivided into what we call mission stations. A parish like this could have 50 outstations, and the farthest could be as far away as 60 miles. We have 657 outstations. And normally, as you go out into the country, we always say you expect the unexpected, because in the rainy season, some roads are washed away and others are so slippery. And then in the dry spell, we have these potholes and manholes. Unless you have an SUV, you fear going out in the country. And gas is very expensive. Right now, it is $8 a gallon. And yet, as a church, we exist to evangelize. We want to break down these large parishes and create smaller, manageable, and accessible ones. And this year, the bishop opened up 4 new parishes, which we've been working on for some time. The second reason why I'm here today is to appeal to you to help us to educate our young men to become priests and our young women to become nuns. Nuns do a lot of work in our schools and in our clinics where they exist. And for us priests, we do more than just the sacraments. If you have a vehicle, it becomes an ambulance of sorts, taking the sick to hospitals and carrying dead bodies for funerals. And when it comes to sacraments, we have very long lines for confessions, long lines for baptisms. I remember in the year 2000, the pastor of my home parish granted amnesty to anyone who wanted to baptize, and he gave me the honor of conducting the baptismal mass. I ended up baptizing 231 children in one mass. Can you imagine going down for the sign of the cross? You go again for the oils, you go again for the water. By the time I was done. So for a donation of say $500, you can support a young woman or a young man in his or her journey towards their vocation. The other reason why I'm here today is to appeal to you to help us to improve access to better medical care in our villages. We have so much pain, suffering, and death. Death happening especially to women, to mothers in labor, and to children who die of preventable diseases. And one of the practices that many of these uneducated women do, they normally do not attend prenatal care. And when time comes to deliver babies, they go to the village midwives. We had a case some time back of a young woman, Sise, who did not attend prenatal care. When time came for her to deliver the baby, she went to the village midwife who tried to help her deliver the baby but failed. It turned out this young woman needed a C-section. The husband, who is a grade school teacher, hired a vehicle and they brought her to the government hospital near the headquarters of our diocese. The doctor on call made this argument that unless they raise an equivalent of $100, I am not going to operate because we have budgets to meet, and when we treat these poor people before payment, they run away and we are stuck with medical bills. We have budgets to meet and money from the government sometimes does not come. And you people claim that these people are poor, but they have their priorities wrong. They buy cell phones, they buy airtime, they buy beer. Let them go and find the money. Well, word went around in the town. And by the time they got to us and funds were raised and the C-section was performed, the baby had died, and the mother died like 4 days later because of infections in the uterus. I had another case happen to me. I had been posted 5 hours away from where I worked, from the home of my mom and dad. So one Sunday evening, I drove from work to home, and I went straight to my room to unwind. My mom comes and knocks on my bedroom door. I thought she had brought food. And she says, "Father, no, we have an emergency here. There is a woman here who is very pregnant. They want you to drive her to the hospital to deliver her baby." Of course, Sunday evening, it's a long day. I'm pouting and complaining. Eventually, I get my car and I started driving with my mom and my sister, looking for this woman and her family members. As we are going through the village shops, my mom says, "Stop the car." I stopped. They ran out and came back with a packet of razor blades. My mom ordered me to drive again. Of course, I drove. As we are looking for them, it's now night. We found this woman in this Y section of the road right there, attempting to deliver her baby with some of her family members. The first thing they did was to chase me away. They said, "Father, you cannot be part of this. You go back to the car." I said, "Fine." They came back and knocked on the window and they said, "We need light." So I maneuvered the vehicle and I provided some lights. They came back again. "Father, do you have an handkerchief?" I said, "Yes." "Do you use perfumes?" I said, "No." So they took my handkerchief and cut it in pieces to tie the umbilical cord. And I sat in the car waiting for them. Eventually, they said, "You don't understand these things." So they came back in with this bloodied child, and the woman was. So they said, "We have to find anyone in us to give this woman a tetanus shot." So we drove to the clinic And finally, we got someone who saved the mother and the baby. So both of them were saved, which was good. But some mothers are not that lucky. Some lose babies, and sometimes we lose both. And many mothers suffer from fistula, others suffer from incontinence. And here I speak of my own mother. She was not coming to church, and the pastor of my home parish called me to say, I no longer see your mom at church. Something is wrong. So I called home to ask, Mom, what is wrong with you? And she says, Father, I'll tell you why when I see you face to face. Well, she was incontinent. And normally when they are incontinent, they cannot come in social gatherings because they stink. They cannot control anything. And this is a result of giving birth to so many children. I am one of 12. I know women who have given birth to 15. So as a diocese, we are trying to establish a better medical facility here at the diocese with an operating theater. And then to improve the 17 medical clinics that we have, whereby mothers can come for prenatal care, whereby those who need C-sections can come and receive them, and whereby children can receive vaccinations or even immunizations. Otherwise, you have so much death happening which we could prevent. Perhaps we are the way we are because of poverty compounded by illiteracy and ignorance. As a diocese, we are trying to establish schools, and our mission is to provide integral quality education, teach the younger people how to read and write, but then for the youth, equip them with life-sustaining skills. As we say, if you give a man or a woman a fish, you feed him but for a day. But if you teach him how to fish, you feed him for life. And those who are destitute in the villages, we are trying to do mindset change. I remember in the year 2008, I opened up a school in my home village. Day one, we received 214 children. Today we have over 750, and sadly, when we send them back to bring the little tuition that we ask, some of them do not come back. And the category that is highly at risk are the young girls, because we have this idea from the men that it is useless to educate women, because someone is going to take them in marriage. And so at 13 or 14, the matchmakers are looking for suitors in exchange for bride price and take them in marriage. So at the diocese, we are trying to look for scholarships to bring these girls and boys into schools. So for a donation of like $500, you can support a younger woman or a young boy. And some of these young girls drop out when that monthly inconvenience comes. Some don't know how to deal with it, especially for lack of sanitary wear. And then there are others who drop out permanently because of early pregnancies. So whenever we get any support, we provide scholarships to provide opportunities for them. The last reason why I'm here today is to appeal to you to help us to improve access to clean and safe water. Many of our water sources are in the valleys, and we stay on the sides of the settlements. Now, because of poor hygiene and sanitation, people defecate and poop on the settlements and on the sides of the hills. Animals do the same. When it rains, all of these negative elements drain into the available water sources. Because we don't have piped water in our homes, after the rain, people walk the distances with their containers and collect this water which is infected and infested, and some, for lack of knowledge, take it without purifying it, and some fall sick. So we are trying to sink boreholes and clean up the existing wells. So for a sacrifice of $3,000, you can assist an entire village to sink a borehole and have access to clean and safe water. The gospel today, in the gospel, the Lord urged us to enter through the narrow gate. The narrow gate is the gate of the humble. It's the gate of those who live a life of sacrifice for the benefit of others. And if you read in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, verses 31 to 46, in there the Lord says that the king will say to those on his right that enter into your father's kingdom. Why? He says that, for I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I was without clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you visited me. And whatsoever you did to the least of my brethren, you did unto me. The Lord has given us many blessings. He invites us to be a blessing. You can begin here. Be a blessing to your community. He has given us many gifts. He invites us to be a gift to the world. Thank you very much for listening to me. May the Lord bless you always for your kindness to us.